All right, let's see. It says it's live. Let's take a second here and there it goes. All right. I'm gonna double check my stream real quick here, guys. Um, there's a slight delay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, we are talking to Chris with Moonraker today about attracting clients. Let me introduce myself real quick. I'm Audrey Shane. In case you don't know me, I run the Balance Practice community, this group, and I'm a therapist in Northern California. I have a private practice. I'm also a business coach, and I am a customer of Chris's, and he does amazing things for my practice. So I'm excited to have him here to share about attracting the right clients, strategies for purposeful traffic generation. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris. Folks, if you have questions, drop it in the comments. I'll be monitoring the comments and dropping questions over to Chris as they come. I see we have some folks slowly making their way in. So we'll get rolling here and see where this takes us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Audrey. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. I can't see you, but I trust that you were there. So I'm really excited to share on this topic. So AI, it's the hottest thing this year. It's probably the hottest thing ever in humanity in a lot of ways. And so it's been the buzz. This is what everybody is talking about, but let's figure out how can we leverage this properly to achieve your goals. And in regards to the topic of this presentation, I wanted to pull up this slide real quick. We're talking about generating traffic. So this is the main focus of this presentation. How do we use AI to generate traffic? By creating content properly that aligns not only with the unique aspects of your practice, but also your target audience. And if you stick around, eventually over the course of this year, we're also going to delve into these other topics further down the client journey as well. So let's get rolling. So why attend this webinar? Well, the biggest reason is that you feel like your practice is invisible. People are struggling to discover your website or your Google listing, and it's probably not that it doesn't exist, but that it's just buried on page 5 or beyond. And maybe you spend a lot of money on a brand new site, but nobody can find it. And so this is a strategy that you can use to actually get the visibility that you need so you can start ranking higher and get more traffic from Google, and also more and more on other platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs as well. And another reason is that you're just ready for more attention. You're doing a good job already, but you want to grow your practice. You want to go private pay. You want to scale and add an associate. Whatever it is that your goals are, traffic generation is the first step. So I'm going to share some proven strategies that my team uses to help folks like Audrey and others to get more traffic of qualified leads to the website. So again, this is the main focus of today's webinar. We're focused on traffic generation because up in this area above here is a bunch of strangers that don't know that you exist that are looking for your practice and your services. And the purpose of SEO and content creation is to generate traffic that brings them to your site. So a little bit about me, I'm Chris Morin. So I have been running my agency for about 6 years. I've been in the marketing space for almost 2 decades, and I've also been in the wellness space as well. I was a massage therapist for over 2 decades. So I wasn't a therapist, but I know a lot of really amazing wellness providers that are incredibly passionate about what they do, but don't have a ton of the technical know-how behind it. So I'm going to share a bit of information that can hopefully help you find a way to use these tools to your advantage. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but just so you know, this information that I'm going to be sharing, it works for solo therapists, it works for small group practices, it works for large group practices, it works for therapy training programs, it works for all of it. And you can see right here, I was actually just talking to Audrey before this webinar started. This was brought to our attention from somebody in the group that she actually showed up in New York State when this person was using ChatGPT to find something about ART. And so, didn't you mention, Audrey, you got a couple more leads from ChatGPT, folks that were looking for ART?
Yeah, so I've gotten 3 referrals just in the past month of clients that use Chat to search for different therapy services, one for financial related anxiety and the other two for ART.
And there's a lot of new developments about how ChatGPT uses Bing, especially, which is Microsoft's search engine, to come up with who to show in search results. So I'll share a little bit more about that that goes beyond this presentation as well. So what are some common challenges? So the biggest one is that you just don't have a content strategy. So you don't necessarily have dedicated pages on your site for your specialties or your main modalities or the location that you're practicing. Maybe the site has technical problems, like it's slow, especially on mobile, which Google prioritizes the speed that a site loads on mobile and the user experience on mobile more than desktop. Maybe there's some other technical issues that makes them question if it's a good idea to direct people to your site. That's a little bit outside of the scope of this presentation, but it's worth noting. Maybe you lack authority. And in terms of the traffic generation practice, authority is relating to other sites that are pointing to your site. So maybe you don't have a lot of sites that are pointing to your site, and Google is lacking the signal that shows that you're a reputable provider in this space. And maybe there's low trust signals. These are things like reviews and testimonials. This is the hardest thing for therapists to get. The main focus of this presentation is about content creation, how to write good pages, but especially how to write ongoing blog content and posts and Q&As for your Google listing as well, to continue to send the signals to Google that you have these two signals right here, experience and expertise. This is really all about how we write about your services. So we break down SEO into two phases. There's a foundational phase where we're looking at the website and how it's built. And I wanted to show that. I'll use an example right here. This is a client. I built this site in the beginning of 2020. So we've been working together for quite a while. And if you look at how we break down the pages, we can see all they do is intensive retreats. Folks that have struggled through trauma, they'll do like 3 to 5 days of therapy in a row. So the main issues that they're treating, PTSD, trauma, child and sexual abuse, all of these have their own dedicated pages, and then therapies, EMDR, IFS, ART, and also there's individual pages for all the locations. So it's very clear to people that are navigating the site and also to Google, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is where it happens. And there's also some additional pages about retreats in particular, other things like about the team, testimonials, blog, etc. But this is a really important foundational piece. And what we're talking about today, we can definitely use AI to generate that kind of content as well, in terms of what I consider like the static specialty pages. But really, the main focus is on the ongoing blog strategy, but it can work just as well for both. So that's a potential hole. And think about your own website. Maybe you have like a summary page of services, and it's saying, I do these 3 modalities and I address these 3 main issues that people are struggling with. When Google sees a page that summarizes things versus a page that goes very deep on one particular thing, they're going to prioritize the page that has more depth, more comprehensive information, because it has more value for somebody that's searching for that information in that area. So we want to make sure that there's a separate page for every single focus that you have on your website. So think of all the topics that you should be ranking for. And so that's how you demonstrate experience and expertise. You basically show Google, we have done this for a very long time. You can tell by how we write about it. We have a very high level of expertise, and it's just evident in how these articles are written, how the pages are written. And if you think about it, Google knows every single page that has been written about EMDR or IFS or ART or childhood trauma or anything. And so they know the pages that they're giving top rankings to in each area. And so they want to see that you know how to write about this stuff. And it's more than just, I need to focus on this one keyword and sprinkle it through in the title and the heading and put it 5 times per paragraph. It's more about comprehensive, context-rich information that goes very deep. Because if you think about it, as a simple example, if you're writing about running shoes, it makes sense that you're going to talk about gym shorts and water bottles as well. It's all in the same context. If you're writing about trauma, it makes sense you would talk about subjective distress, the experience in the body. If you're talking about EMDR, you mentioned the 8 phases of the modality, things like that. So it's more than just keywords. It's about comprehensive, insightful, and very deep content that illustrates your high level of experience and expertise. We're not going to get into these other 2 so much, but again, this is about backlinks, and this is about reviews and testimonials. So how we demonstrate experience and expertise, again, it's by creating valuable and comprehensive content. And so, as I mentioned before, upgrading your service or specialty or modality pages to make sure that you have a unique page for each of the services that you offer. And we're looking at a lot of content. So if we hit this PTSD page, for example, we would see that there's a whole bunch of stuff like what is PTSD, understanding the symptoms,
Hey,
causes.
Chris,
Yes.
can I interrupt for a second? There's some the background
Oh, there
noise.
is. Here,
Yeah,
let me
it's coming
switch
through just a
my
little bit. Yeah, it wasn't at
switch my
first, but it's
microphone.
coming through a little too much.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Hey, Audrey,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you and I don't hear the background noise.
Sure. It could have just been that people got quiet, but I had to evacuate my hotel because the speed was atrocious. So I'm in the corner of a cafe right now, and
Aha.
I'll have to just bug people if they get too rapid.
Awesome.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just be closer to the microphone and it should block things out. So as I was saying, the main priority for the foundation of your site is that you need to make sure that you have a separate page for every single topic. And as I was saying, if we look at this PTSD page as an example, it goes very, very deep. There's probably 1,500 to 2,000 words on this page. So Google, when they crawl this page, they can see there's a lot of information here. And if somebody's looking for therapy for PTSD and they're doing it in the areas that this provider is located in, there's a really good chance this page is going to rank. Other things to demonstrate experience and expertise, sharing your credentials and specialization. And this is a simple one, like just mention it in your bio. You can also include logos, any types of legitimacy building elements, like, you know, if you are MDRIA certified, put that on your website. If you're on site today, add it to your website. All these little things might not mean a lot to you, but not only does it mean something to Google, but when somebody sees it, they're going to check that box in their mind and they're more likely to reach out to you. And when it comes to the ongoing content, really what I'm promoting is publishing at least one blog on your website weekly. And we want these to be really long form pieces of content as well, just like the other pages where it's like 2,000 to 3,000 words. And it's going to address a lot of specific questions, treatment approaches, topics related to your services and modalities. And it has to be obviously related to the things that your clients are searching for so that it can position you as a trusted resource. And we also want to amplify the impact of those blogs by converting them into simple posts that you can add to your Google listing. And these are much smaller. And I'll show you an example of what this looks like as well, where it's 200, 300 words. And so let me see here. So if we look at this same client here and we look at this area here, we can see that there's a bunch of these little posts. They're not long, but it's just another opportunity to add keywords, to add different details about your services, etc. And also, a lot of people don't realize that the Q&A section of your Google listing, you can actually use it more like an FAQ. You don't need to wait for somebody to give you a question that you can answer. You can actually put your own questions and then answer them. So again, it's just another place where you can put that information. Google will see it and it will help you to rank, especially in your local area. So this is where things get really fun. So this is how to properly create content with AI. And this is what people ask me all the time. Like they want to use ChatGPT, they want to use Claude, they want to use one of these systems, but they don't really know how to do it properly. And what I am trying to get people to avoid is you go on ChatGPT and you say, write me a blog about EMDR therapy. And then you hit enter and you just let it pump something out and you put that on your website. The problem with that is that it's going to do some basic research. It's going to see what other pages are showing up. It's going to pull probably large pieces of content from those pages. So you're going to risk plagiarizing content, and you're also going to risk not actually connecting with your target audience because it has no context about your unique practice or that person that you're trying to speak to. So there's a few different stages to this process. There's 3 steps that we want to go through to make sure that the content that we create actually is going to rank, going to only mention information about your practice specifically, and also that it is not going to risk any issues where you're pulling too much information from somewhere else and Google's going to say, yeah, I've seen that. You're just regurgitating the content and I don't actually want to rank this at all. So this is actually the first step in the process. And so this is the exact prompt right here. And I encourage you to take this prompt And so I'm just going to go through this process right now and show an example to you of how this works. So what I would ask, Audrey, do you have anybody in the audience that wants to volunteer and just share a little bit of information about their practice? And I can actually put it into this prompt and then we can go through this process together.
I'm sure we do. If someone's in the chat, there's about a 10-second delay, so we'll have to wait for it to catch up. But if someone's in the chat, go ahead and put some information in to help us fill this out, and we can go through this process together.
So the first step is that we need to do keyword research and basically build a content strategy. So this piece can happen at any time. It doesn't have to happen right before you use the next two prompts to actually build the content. So what I would actually encourage you to do is do this when you have some time and just copy this over to like a Google Doc so that you can save this strategy for later, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff here and you're going to want to keep this conversation handy so that after 3 months, when you want to get more content topics and more blog ideas, you can just re-engage that same conversation and say, hey, we just went through all of that. Everything looks good. Can we get 3 more months worth of content? So that's basically this prompt. You're a keyword research expert. I run a therapy practice and need help doing keyword research so we can create a content strategy for my website and Google listing. Please share keyword info in 3 months worth of content topics at 4 blogs per month, plus other goals to achieve within each month. Format this info in a way that I can add it to a Google Doc and easily share with my team. So if you don't have a Google listing, no big deal. You can just delete that piece there. I want to just stress that this prompt is not like the only thing that you need to use. You can play with this, but this is what I've been playing around with for a while now, and this works really well.
All right. I dropped some details in the chat.
All right, cool. Let's see what we got here. All right, lavendercounseling.com. Cool. So I'm going to drop this in here. Let's see. Our ideal client has often not had success in other areas, and sometimes has been considered treatment resistant by other medical professionals. And can you tell me a little bit about the issues that you treat, like the main issues, like anxiety, depression, PTSD, etc., and
Looks
also the
here,
specific location?
we've got this specific one. She does long-term trauma therapy. And we'll wait and see.
I'm just jumping over to this website as well.
Yep.
Langley and Vancouver. So I'm just going to grab Vancouver
Yep. Great.
for this example. Is that
Wonderful.
Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver, British Columbia?
Great question.
I actually know. Can you repeat that again, Audrey, the issues that you mentioned?
The one they said is long-term trauma therapy, CPTSD, anxiety, depression, traumatic grief.
Okay. Traumatic grief. Yeah, I think I heard CPTSD.
And says she said Vancouver, BC, Canada.
Okay. So now we've added the website. We've added a little blurb about the ideal client. We've added some keywords about the main issues that are treated. I'm actually going to delete this first one because that's more of a modality and we can add that later. Some issues that we treat: anxiety, depression, traumatic grief, CPTSD, location targeting Vancouver, British Columbia. And just to note, I'm using Claude. You can use ChatGPT. The key is that whatever AI you're using, it needs to have access to the internet. So you can pick whatever one works best for you, but I imagine most people are going to be using ChatGPT. At the end of the day, it's all the same. It's just going to output the information slightly differently, but either way is going to produce some really great and compelling content once we prompt it properly. So we're going to let that just wind out and do what it's going to do. So once it gets done, we're going to have a really comprehensive strategy to run with for at least 3 months. And when I mentioned that part about plus other goals to achieve within each month, that's like some little added adventures, side quests, if you will, that you can accomplish in your time. But the main focus of this prompt is to give you the topics that you need to generate content that's going to align with your ideal client and your location. And so once we get all that out there, let's see. So one of the reasons I like Claude is because it has what they call artifacts, where it's this little side panel here where it's going through and it's creating a ton of information, but it's kind of formatted as if it's a separate document from the main conversation. And you can see that it's just done a ton of, it's analyzed a bunch of search results like therapy keywords, Vancouver, BC, search volume, treatment-resistant depression therapy, Vancouver keywords, etc. So there's a lot of activity that just happened. And if you have one of the paid versions, you can also do like a deeper research. I don't necessarily find the need to do it in this case, but it will probably take more like 5 to 10 minutes and it will research hundreds of different sources. So it'll be very, very comprehensive. But already you can see, as we're looking at this, executive summary, primary keyword strategy. So it gives you a lot of really great keyword ideas. The cool thing is that all this information is a great resource for you to comb through and think about. But realistically, all we really need to worry about is this content calendar. So week 1, here's the first blog, second blog, week 2, third blog, fourth blog, monthly goals, establish 4 cornerstone content pieces, begin local SEO optimization, set up your Google My Business. So this is a good example. If you already have one of those, you can add more context to the original blog and it can guide you on the specific things that you would like to focus on. But in this case, it's just assuming we're at the very beginning. And so it's saying, well, go set up your GVP, create lead magnets. So it's all sorts of good information. But again, what I'm focused on right now is these blog topics here. So I'm actually going to open up another tab here just so that we can start a new chat and use this second prompt here. So this is the part where you want to do prompt 2 and then prompt 3, which I'll show on the next page. You want to do these in sequence at the same time. So you're an SEO competitor analysis expert. Please do an analysis of the top 10 ranking content pieces about topic. We're going to drop in one of these topics. So let's take when therapy hasn't worked, understanding treatment-resistant mental health. And again, you can tweak that out if it doesn't make perfect sense for you. Maybe we say treatment-resistant anxiety. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. So there's flexibility here as you go. In preparation for new blog posts, Google listing posts, and Q&A. Our goal is to create unique and comprehensive content that ranks well with no plagiarism of existing content. So again, fire it off, sit back, have some tea, and let the robots do the work. That was actually the slogan of Roomba, let the robots do the work. And I used to think it was creepy, and here we are chatting while robots do the work. What a world. So if we look further here, we can see month 2, month 3. So it's mapped out 12 blog topics. It mentions the primary keyword. It mentions, what it's designed to address. It's including specific elements of the blog. So if we wanted to get even more advanced, we could take this whole snippet of information about the blog and drop that into the next prompt so that it goes really deep and it's adjusted in the way that the original strategy was intending to focus. And then we have this information at the bottom, like here's some objectives, like this is the whole point of all of this. 4 more blog posts of video content, guest post opportunities, networking, consider split testing your contact forms and appointment booking, collect and display client testimonials. So it's very comprehensive. And again, we're only scratching the surface of like the potential in this content creation strategy all by itself, but there's a lot here. Writing standards gives you length, tone, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, tons here. I would encourage you to copy this, save it for later. In this example, we're just going to go through and get the output of one of these exercises, which is a single blog and some content for the Google listing. So right now it's basically going through and it's creating a strategy to differentiate this content from the content that already exists. So it's done a lot of searches again, looking for content that has already been created, unique positioning opportunities, the complete journey approach, emerging treatment integration, personal stories. So this is where we really want to be careful because simple example, you're a therapist, you work with trauma, you don't do EMDR. It makes perfect sense when you research that EMDR is a really important thing to mention in a blog about trauma because it's so thoroughly connected at this point. But that's why this third prompt that we're about to use is going to adjust it so that it only focuses on the unique details of your practice only. We don't want to talk about things that you don't do. If you don't do ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, we probably shouldn't talk about it. So this is getting very, very thorough information so that it knows like what are all the great things that I should talk about. And then we're going to really hone it in. So the fun thing about this second prompt is that it's doing a ton of work just to really like comb through all the information that's already ranking and think like, how can I make something better than this? But we don't have to do a single thing with this. We're just going to leave it there just so that the AI is queued up. And then we're going to take this one.
Before we go on to that one, I don't know where this question fits. There's a question about what about asking for academic references? Does it improve expertise?
It absolutely could. In regard to how we address that, because I do want to position the blog so that it makes reference to other organizations, maybe associations that are at the head of these modalities, or studies that have gone into like how this modality stacks up against others, things like that. When we go back through, we always place links manually. So let's say we're writing an EMDR blog. We're going to have the first link go to the main EMDR service page. The second link is going to go to the Google listing. The third link that we add will go to some resource like that, like maybe EMDRIA, or maybe like the NCBH. I forgot the National Institute of Health, like online journal of all their studies and stuff. We could link to a study about EMDR that's been done. And that helps Google to understand like, okay, here's the point of this blog. Here's what it connects to on the site. And also here's how it fits into this larger space. It's not a reference per se directly related to the content itself, but it helps position the content so that it's like the content is aware of like the actual academic research that's been done on that topic. I hope that makes sense. And then we would add some other links as well, like maybe to the the contact page or the booking calendar or something like that. And then finally, we would do another one if there was another blog that had already been created that was also a good reference, we might link to that as well. Internal linking is very important. It helps Google understand how you want the link juice, like the authority of one page to flow to another. And so it's important that we connect all these things together in an intuitive way. So this is the big mama prompt. This is where it all happens. And so we've gotten all this great information and we don't have to touch it. We're just going to drop this other prompt down here and then tweak it out so that we can make sure that the actual content that we create from it is specific to your practice. So you're an SEO content creation expert. Please create a blog post based on your previous research without plagiarizing any content. Your purpose is to ensure that we achieve all 13 of the goals listed below. No direct comparisons to other therapy practices or competitor mentions. No mention of affordable therapy, sliding scale, budget, blah, 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 blah. These are just the ones that we put in as like the canned response. If you want to do budget therapy, then take that out. This is what I consider like the negative keywords. So you can add more as necessary. No testimonials. Focus on quality content and not personal case studies. AI testimonials are super cringy, so I just avoid them completely. No one size fits all narrative. Always stress the personalized nature of care. No mention of specific pricing details. Instead, encourage people to reach out for pricing and scheduling info. Team size. This is where we would adjust this. So I want to ask the same person from Langley and Vancouver. Oh, I guess Lavender Counseling. If you can hop back in the chat and share a little bit more information here, because we want to know, is it just you or is it a group? Because that's going to adjust the terminology that we use throughout this article. Other things that we want to know. Do you take insurance? Do you offer in-person or online sessions? What modalities do you use? And what clients can expect during the intake process? What clients can expect after care has been established? It might be a little tedious to write all this out in little blurbs, but if you do, I'll copy and paste it directly in here. And these don't have to be long. It's like, hop on a 15-minute free consultation call so that we can discuss if this is a good fit for you. And if it looks like it's a good idea to move forward, then, you'll pay a deposit and then we'll get you scheduled. And then what can they expect after care has been established? We usually set up appointments on a weekly basis every month, and I give you some homework that you can complete before each session, whatever that happens to be, just so that there's some expectations there. What differentiates you from competitors? And this isn't anything objective. It's really just what you think makes your practice special. And then finally, content should be between 2,000 to 3,000 words. I don't know why, but content word length is kind of like AI images with fingers. They just don't understand. And it's like, it looks like a real hand, and then there's like 6 fingers, or one is a pencil. And it's just, what we found is that when we add this qualifier at the bottom here, it's at least 2,000. It's sometimes much more. Sometimes it's pretty close, but every AI I've ever played with just doesn't understand word count. So this is here. Don't be surprised if it's off a little bit, but at the very least, it should make a substantially long piece of content. And that's what we want. So
I
let's
added
grab
some,
of the-
yeah, I added some details in the chat there for you.
Cool. So team size, practice. Please use we, our group practice terminology throughout. Do you take insurance? No. No insurance. Let's see what else. I'm just pulling this information right from the chat right now. Okay. In person, online, or telephone is type prefers. What modalities do you use? We do, where is it? Long-term, what do you say? Long-term trauma therapies. Sorry for the background noise now. It's probably worse when I'm not talking. Complimentary conversation with the client. Got that in there. Anything about, I imagine you're still typing over there.
What do you
clients
mean?
can expect aftercare has been established. What differentiates you from competitors? We see those 2 pieces, and then we can fire this one.
Aftercare, here we go. We got one for aftercare.
Awesome. Okay. Drop that right there. Aftercare has been established. Support will be tailored to your experience. It could be anywhere from weekly to monthly support. And then differentiator, and that's all we need. And then we can fire off this prompt.
Awesome, working on it.
I love
That's
the
always, I think, a
counselors
hard
too.
one. I feel
Yeah.
like that's one of the hardest questions for therapists is like, what makes me different? It's like, I don't know, I'm a therapist. Like,
I know. Let's see, maybe I can pull the gem from the website. Let's see. Right counselor, blah, 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 blah. Highly skilled counselors who go through rigorous hiring practices to ensure they meet our standard. And honestly, that's great.
That'll work.
It doesn't need to be crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like, I'm the first therapist that conducted a session on Mount Everest. Like, it doesn't really matter. So now we've got everything here. So it's a group practice, no insurance. We have in person, online, or telephone, long-term trauma therapy, complimentary conversation. Aftercare has been established. Eliminate that.
Oh, and she added, they do experiential therapy. I think that's probably in the modality space.
Okay. Experiential therapy.
There we go.
Cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about this prompt is it took us like 5 or 6 minutes to create it for Lavender, but once it's built out for you, you can just keep it and use it. Or another thing that you should know, you could create a custom GPT in Claude. You can create projects, and you can basically build this out as like the default information that you save in a project, so that it has all this stuff ready to go. So anytime you want to create content in the future, all you need to do is just go into that specific project and then create something over there. And I just wanted to note that while this is writing, the process that I'm showing you right now will get you about 70 to 80% of the way there in terms of how we do things. When my team does content, we're using AI extensively, but we're using about 4 different layers of AI. We have one tool that we love to use for keyword research. We have one tool that's great at the initial article writing. We have one tool that's great at making the articles more comprehensive. And we have another tool that we use that is great at checking the boxes to make sure that we actually hone in the focus of the article on the unique details of your practice and your target audience. And so that actually the fourth pass is through Claude. And we're always looking at ways to streamline that process. But right now there's, a lot of different AIs collaborating together because some of them are so brilliant and also so dumb at the same time. And it's important to layer these. And then after that process, we're going through and we're reviewing everything with humans and then placing those links manually. So there's a lot to it. It's still the most time consuming part of what we do. But compared to the actual writing process beforehand, which took hours and hours for every single piece of content, this is just such a huge advantage. So the point here is to amplify your productivity significantly. And if you can get 80% of the way there with 20% of our effort, and it comes in at a level that's manageable for you to do because you're using like 3 or 4 hours of your time once a month or less, then I want you to get the ball rolling because you can definitely do a good job and you can rank for things in your local area if you use these tools to create content properly. So we have a really, really comprehensive article. Let me just grab this and check the word count real quick because I'm curious what it came up with. Let's see. 3,077. So we came in just
Wow.
over where we were trying to go. But that's a big article. So let's see.
Yeah.
When therapy hasn't worked, understanding treatment-resistant anxiety, the reality of treatment-resistant anxiety, understanding why traditional therapy sometimes falls short, biological and medical factors, trauma and neurological complexity, therapeutic mismatch in timing, recognizing the signs of treatment resistance, the intersection of trauma and treatment resistance, the role of experiential therapy. So long-term trauma therapy approach. So it's starting to introduce the specific details of your practice. And the more specific you get, the more that the output will reflect the details that you want to share. Innovative approaches for treatment-resistant anxiety. And so this might be a part that you want to go through, especially close, because maybe your practice doesn't offer transcranial magnetic stimulation, but in the absence of more specific modalities and things like that, it can sometimes pull out information like this. And so importance of the therapeutic relationship, what makes a relationship effective, our rigorous selection process, what to expect in your journey with us, the initial conversation, establishing care and treatment planning, ongoing support and adaptation. And so there's a lot here. So the goal is that for every single article, it's going to touch on what is the main topic of this post that connects with people that are searching for services in the world, especially in your part of the world. What are the unique details of your practice and what are some unique details of how you provide care and the ideal client that you're targeting? So if we can combine all those things together, there's no way that this blog article has been created by anybody else. There are probably no pieces here other than single lines or statistics that have been directly pulled from another blog or competitor or journal. And so this is the kind of thing that we can actually use. So how do we amplify this even further? This is a super simple prompt right here. Please use this blog to create a 1,000 character post and also a Q&A that I can share on my Google list. And it will probably give you a bunch of posts and Q&As. It always seems to add more. It also will highlight what it wrote here. See, it says, I've created a comprehensive 2,800 word blog post. I don't know where those other 277 words came from, but it just doesn't get it. That's the extra finger that it doesn't know about. And it mentions here like a bunch of the information. We want to be very specific. That's why I had it say like these 13 goals, and here are 13 goals. We don't say all the goals. The thing about AI is that we don't want to just wing it and then let this neural network come up with its own idea. We want to use the brilliance and the productivity enhancing effects, but we want to give it like a ton of gates to make sure that the output is exactly as we want it to be. So the more specific we can get, the better. And so now over here, Q, A, do you work with people who've tried multiple therapists before? Yeah, we do. What type of therapy approaches do you use? We specialize in long-term trauma therapy and experiential therapy approaches. How long does treatment typically take, et cetera, et cetera. So we got a bunch of questions and answers. And then down here we have, let's see, 1,000 character, where is it? Did it add that too? Maybe I have to please share the GBP post as well. Sometimes it thinks it gives it to you, but it doesn't quite give it to you. So give me that as well. Here we go.
There it is. And I'll add too, like, there's the I assume there's the opportunity to say, do not include things like ketamine, right?
Absolutely.
So you can do negative keywords as well. Do not include these things, and it'll refine it even further.
Yeah, and you could definitely include all that stuff
No
into
mention
this
of.
number 5 here.
Yep, there it
Yeah.
is.
So I usually just have it for like don't sell it short, but you could absolutely put like don't put these particular modalities, don't put
Hmm.
these particular topics.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You could throw all that in there. And again, if you get an article that is 99% there, but it mentioned ketamine assisted or TMS or something, you could say this is amazing. Please go back through and leave as much as possible, but remove any mention of topic 1, topic 2,
Hmm.
etc. So
Yep,
you don't have to throw it all out and start over. So
exactly.
now over here, we have this nice little Google business profile post about the specific topic of the blog. So we can not only put something on the website, but we can also put something on the Google listing as well. And just a quick note about that, if you don't have a listing and you're online only and you're struggling to get verified because it's a true nightmare, it's not the end of the world. To use this client as an example, if we look at the performance of this listing for the headquarters. If we look at website clicks, last month it generated about 300 clicks, then about 243 in June. The whole website got about 2,500 clicks in May. And so this is not insignificant, but it's just one small piece of the overall picture. So most of the traffic is still coming from the actual website search results, not just the Google listing. So it is important because those clicks on the local listing are going to be really good qualified clicks because they're right nearby. And even if you can provide services in your whole state or province, folks that are in the same storms as you think that you know them better, and so they're more likely to convert. So it's not insignificant, but it's not everything. So if you can't get one, then you can still use these prompts, but you just wouldn't include that piece at the end. So here's a little bonus thing. And this is definitely something that I encourage you to try on one of the pages on your website. So how do you get the emotional connection with people? So this is a thing that my agency partner shared with me. Please analyze the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I love this. If you haven't seen his TED Talk, it was a while ago, but he stresses very hard. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the biggest example was Apple versus all the other PC manufacturers. People buy Apple products because they love the idea of Apple. We're on the cutting edge of innovation and design. And, oh my gosh. And it's also, we apply this to a computer. Oh, by the way, we also apply the same idea to a music device and a phone. And if they came out with the iPancake next month, they would be like, oh my God, it's the best breakfast innovation that we've ever seen. And so people buy Apple's products and they pay more for them because they love the why behind it. It aligns with their why, something about what they want or who they want to be. And so if someone's buying a PC, it's like, well, it has this much RAM and this is the processor and this one's a little cheaper, and you get caught up in that stuff. And so if we can connect with people emotionally, they will jump through hoops to work with us and they will justify your costs to themselves to make it happen. And so this is another one of those two-part elements where let's just start a new conversation. All you need to do for the first part is just queue it up. We just want the AI to basically analyze this book. I don't know exactly where it's pulling the transcript, but it's out there. And it's going to give you a little book summary and it's going to say, oh, he talks all about this and that. And you should definitely watch the TED Talk on YouTube. It's like probably 10 minutes long, but it's really good. And it's totally reframed the way that I think about what I do and pretty much every negotiation related thing in my life. And we're negotiating constantly about everything. So it's really a good framework to revisit. And so it's just given us this nice little summary. We don't need to read this, it doesn't really matter, but now it has that information ready to go. So the next one here, rewrite your content. Please use the insight you gained from the book to rewrite the content on my page. Maintain the same page structure and create clear headings that capture the essence of why, how, what, but don't explicitly use terminology from the book. And so now we can take this and we can just drop in a page URL or we can paste the page content. So is there anybody that wants to serve up their page as a sacrifice? And we can see if we can make it sound more compelling. If you're talking, you're muted, Audrey.
I'm saying that while we wait for that, there's a question in the chat that I pulled up. What do we do if Google My Business keeps rejecting our posts? We believe it's the mental health. We have been in touch, and counseling is not allowed, but sometimes therapy, well, and therapy only works sometimes.
Yeah, that's a really great question because we've seen that every now and then, but it doesn't seem to be very consistent. I'm wondering if that same person had issues where photos were being rejected and things like that. It could just be there's so much algorithmic determination about the post quality. Is it spam? Is it not spam? Is this photo spam? Is this entire listing spam? And so it's probably nothing that you did. It could just be that you're on a secret list because of one tiny detail 6 months ago that Google's system just hasn't forgotten about. So if it's to the point where you can't post anything, then you might want to, and I wish I could tell you the exact URL to go to, but struggle to go through Google systems and find the ability to connect with a real human. They do exist. It's not all reptilians, I promise. And if you can get someone on the phone, then you can express the situation to them and say, listen, I'm a therapy practice. We're trying to talk about therapy. We're not claiming anything's curing HIV over here. Like we're just trying to talk about CBT or whatever. And so maybe they have some insight. Maybe they can flip a few switches and it will make the problem better. At the very least, it'll be on the record that you spoke to somebody and they can give you like a human verification that, okay, this is a legitimate provider and their practice is okay. So I wish I could tell you specifically why, but that is one of the most frustrating things about doing SEO is that Google changes the goalposts a lot and we're not exactly sure why some things work and other times it doesn't. So.
Okay, I just dropped the URL homepage. We got someone that served up their homepage.
Awesome. Let's see. So let's see what we got right now. Therapy for high achieving women in California. Thank you, Bradleysia. I hope I pronounced that right. Build your boundaries, claim your peace. This is nice. That's a really cool slogan. I like that. Clear why, clear what, clear call to action. Sound like you? I'm afraid this page is too good already. But let's see what happens. So I'm going to try the URL. Sometimes, again, it rejects the URL, and we'll just copy and paste the page content if you need to.
I've got another one as an option in case this one isn't is too good.
Let's see. So it's fetched the page, and it should be analyzing the page, reorganizing website content using why, how, what framework. Boom, here we go. I'm glad to see that it kept the top because it's good.
Yeah.
Every woman deserves to thrive completely. So it's going to be tough because I don't know exactly what is written as much as you do, but we can see right off the bat it did change some stuff. Like it doesn't say sound like you anymore. It says a lot.
Yeah.
Every woman deserves to thrive completely. We believe that success isn't just about professional achievements, about feeling confident, heard, and valued in every area of your life. I want to here, once it's done writing, I'm just going to publish this so I can share the link in the chat so that she can grab this and use it if she wants. Because again, it's not up to me if this feels more compelling and speaks better to your target audience. This is where you can really play with it. When it comes to boosting conversions of a web page, it's such a nuanced art because we're talking about emotions here. We're dealing with goldfish. We have about 5 to 10 seconds, and it's nothing personal. It's just the world we live in. And so this area, your hero section, is so important. How do we really hit them hard with that emotional impact that says, oh man, I want this so bad. What do I need to do? I want boundaries so bad. I feel like I'm all over the place. I want to feel peace. What do? I go to therapy for high achieving women.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hit this button. Why should I hit that button? Well, I would love to see some other elements that build legitimacy, like logos or something like that. Again, I'll give you an example. This is a spin-off from intensive therapy retreats. We had to remove the ketamine-assisted intensives from the main website because we were having issues with running Google ads with controlled substances. So this is the formula that we came up with here. Experience life-changing transformation in just 1 week. Like, boom, mic drop. If someone has been struggling for a long time, they see that, they're like, man, I want that so bad. What do? You do this right here. This is what it is. This is where it happens. Here's the call to action. One of the therapists was featured on a podcast on NPR. They're all MDRIA certified. They went through this program in Colorado to get their credentials for the psychedelic assisted training. And most people might know NPR, but most lay people probably won't know these two logos. But don't overthink it because they look legitimate. And someone scanning this, they're like, oh, I want that so bad. Okay, that makes sense. This is very clear. This looks legit. I'm going to hit that button. Boom, get on the calendar. That's it. Or at the very least, they scroll deeper. And so when it comes to this kind of content, the idea is that you can use your intuition here because you're the one providing the services. There's no one else. Well, unless it's a group practice. But if it's you, then the idea of your ultimate purpose in your practice, like what's the most transformational thing that I could ever provide to somebody? If you can capture that in a statement and in a blurb on your page, then your ideal clients will probably love to hear that because it will be the thing that they want to do as well. And so if it feels good to you, it probably feels good to the people that you really want to connect with. So don't think about it too hard. But when it comes to like the nuances of each word and like, how do I make it sound cool and all gel together? Again, this is what these tools are really, really good for because they can just obliterate writer's block and they can just like take your feelings and like, I feel this way and I don't know how to speak this way, but this is what I feel. And you put it there and it does a really good job of writing for you. And I love Claude because Claude 4 Sonnet is incredible at writing. It's really, really good.
I love it.
So
I have a paid account. Do you have that link? Yeah, awesome.
yeah, so I'm going to drop that in the chat over here.
Cool. I'll share it.
And while we're at it, I'm going to do this one as well because they also offered up this website. So Essence of Life Therapy, Renee McDonald, thank you so much. Your anxiety keeps you overthinking. Your overthinking keeps you stuck. Healing is possible. I feel called out right now. So I'm going to duplicate this page again. And I'm just going to edit that old prompt and just drop back in this URL instead. Then it will start over and analyze the new page instead. So it's fetching the page. Any other questions while we wait?
No, nothing in there.
Okay.
What I will say
See,
is like
this is interesting.
oh,
Starting to build out like a whole page in
code.
HTML. Again, it's like sometimes Claude is also really good at coding.
Yeah.
But it's coming up with like a whole style sheet for the page.
Oh,
Thank you,
funny.
Claude.
Yeah, no
This makes me
kidding.
want to adjust this prompt and just say like, give me content, not
Yeah, because it's
styling.
giving it in the code, so it's harder to read.
Yeah, so once it gets done actually building out the code, it's going to show it as like a visual version. So it's very, very cool. Claude is great at building like tiny little apps for all sorts of things.
Oh, fun.
You can
Hey, I have a
see like,
question
yeah, sure.
about the prompts. Is there a way to get these prompts shared in an easy cut paste document at some point?
You will have this, this slide deck.
The
So
slide deck.
you
So I'll
can,
share the slide deck. Okay.
yeah, so you can copy it right out of there. Look at this. So I
Oh
don't
my
encourage
gosh,
you to use this.
that's funny.
This is the fun of AI. It's like, what just happened?
It's
We can see like it
it's like
went.
formatting it and
Yeah.
everything.
Therapy in person in Dutchess County and online. Your anxiety keeps our core belief you're always enough. So I'm so curious. Like, yeah. So again, it's like this is overkill. Like,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Can you just make this into copy and no design, please? I just want to add this to a Google Doc. Just to be really clear, just give me a
Yeah.
moment.
That's so funny.
So it doesn't, yeah, it's deleting all of the
Code.
styling and whatnot now. So it should just give us like pure copy that we can then play around with. And again, you don't need to take all of it. You could take a piece. It could be just one paragraph. Like maybe this is the one piece that's like the gold nugget for you, and you can change that out. So these tools are awesome to play with when you prompt them well. They can give you such a massive advantage for your productivity. So that's the real emphasis of this presentation. I hope that that original prompt about how to write brand new copy is really helpful, but this is the kind of prompt that hopefully will obliterate your writer's block. You can adjust a lot of things about that so that it can be even more specific. If you want to steer it a little bit, like, and let's make this, let's focus on the why, but focus on this type of ideal client. And you can qualify it even further.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't even think that your homepage speaks to that person at all right now. So now it's getting very, very literal.
That's the thing about AI is you got to be careful what you ask for.
Claude, Klaus, you're making me
Come
look
on.
bad. Come on.
I know. I usually get better from.
I know. That's so funny. So, when in doubt, just start over. So I'll let that do its thing. Analyze the book, Star with Why by Simon Sinek. I'll just let
Man.
that run in the background while I move on here. So
Yeah.
when it works amazing. But again, we're playing with new creatures. It's essentially an employee. The more clear and direct feedback and boundaries you give it, the better. So let's move on. So how do you know that the content creation strategy that you are in the process of employing is actually getting you the results you want? So there's a few tools that we need to build out in the first place. And I'm not going to cover how to install these tools. Most of you probably have some of them already, but these are some videos. They're embedded into this presentation. You can watch them later. This is actually the instructional videos that I have recorded for my own team to install these different Google properties on client websites if we need to. So we like to have Google Tag Manager. Again, I won't really get into what this is for, but it's just a place that we can put other forms of code and little tools if we need to. Analytics is really more about analyzing how somebody navigates from one page of the website through to the others. Very, very useful and important. But the reason we install it first in regard to SEO is because it makes it a lot easier to verify your Google Search Console. This is really the magic tool we want here. Search Console is just about how people navigate from Google search results to your website. So it's going to show what search terms they're using to find one of your pages, which pages they're going to. And so I'm going to show you what that's all about. And we can use Audrey here as an example. So the most important thing about Google Search Console is the date range functionality. You can zoom in and out, and you can go down to like a week, I think maybe even a day, and you can pan all the way back out up to 16 months. So you can get a real nice bird's eye view of your website over time and also get really, really specific. You can compare different time periods together. So we're doing this on a monthly basis for our clients where we're comparing the last 28 days to the previous period before that. See how many more clicks, how many more impressions, things like that. And it's really easy to see visual trends just by looking at the graphs. Quick note, Google Search Console is completely free and it's data directly from Google, so it's really accurate. Performance metrics, it shows clicks, impressions, click-through rate, and average position. So let me show you what that looks like. Clicks, that's pretty straightforward. How many times has somebody clicked from search results onto one of the pages of your website? And when we have it zoomed way out like this is for every page, every click. We can get more specific and look at single pages by filtering. Like if we just want to see the homepage, we can just look at the homepage. That's all the clicks for just the homepage. The impressions is the amount of times that a page shows up in search results. It doesn't mean that it's at a certain ranking position. It's just in there somewhere. And so this is a good indication that what we're doing is working, because usually the first phase of SEO is you start to get more impressions because Google crawls your blog posts or it analyzes your posts on the Google listing, things like that. And it sees, oh, okay, this domain is starting to talk about all these other topics. And that aligns with these things that people are searching for. So I think this is good enough that I'm going to put it in search results, but it's going to be at position 83. And so it's going to register as an impression, but it's probably not going to turn into traffic at first. The average click-through rate is a little interesting because there's usually an inverse relationship. As you start to get more impressions, your average click-through rate goes down. Don't be afraid, because if you have a ton of new placements in position 100, people are probably not going to click on it, so the average gets diluted. Same with the average position. You'll notice right here, very interesting, there was a spike in impressions. The average position dropped way down as a result, probably because you got a ton of impressions, for something for a little while, and it was at like a very low ranking position. The thing about SEO is that it's a long game. Like we're looking at trends over the course of months and years. And so when we're working with clients, like we want at least a year long commitment because it takes us that much of a runway to really achieve the results that we're looking for, which is consistently good traffic from qualified leads that will actually reach out to you and connect for services. And it takes a long time to develop the momentum where you get to the point that it's actually generating results. So please don't try this for a month and you don't get anybody and you give it up because it takes a long time. This client here, the original site, Intensive Therapy Retreats, I built it in the beginning of 2020, and we've been running SEO nonstop for 5.5 years, and we're getting 2,500 clicks per month for intensive related terms. And that's a really, really competitive niche, but it's been a real slog to get here. And it wasn't until about probably 12 to 14 months that we were getting enough that the clinical psychologist that I was working with decided I need to bring on an associate. And now there's 10 people across North America. So it's the long game here. We're starting with a trickle and eventually it will become a tsunami if you stick with it long enough. So the main things that we're looking at here is the total clicks and the total impressions. And we want to see a trend in the right direction. And so how to use Search Console, some other things that we can look at, search queries, you can identify the top terms. What's generating impressions? Signs you're not sexually attracted to your partner. That's an awesome quote that was pulled from a media mention. Intensive therapy. This is really great because this aligns with the services that she's providing. Hasn't generated a ton of clicks yet, but if we look into that deeper, we can see that that didn't really exist back in August. It's steadily been growing. And again, there's going to be peaks and troughs, but we can see that there's a positive trend. It's going up to the right. And so as more time goes by, even though it hasn't popped a ton of clicks yet, the goal is that eventually it will start to pop a lot of clicks. And we can see that there's all sorts of activity. In the beginning, the average position, when you're not really indexed all the time, it's very sporadic. And then it starts to get more and more focused. And so I'm not afraid to see that line go down a little bit. What I'm really looking at is seeing that that line gets more focused. So we can filter all sorts of things. We can filter by the query. We can filter by a single page. Business coaching for therapists. How is that page doing? Consistent traffic, impressions are growing. That's awesome. That's good to see. And again, we can always look at things over the course of time. I don't want to beat up on you too much. Let's look at somebody else here. Let's look at, this is a client in Pittsburgh.
While you're pulling it up, someone asked why, again, just to clarify, why Search Console over Analytics, Google Analytics?
Search Console is all about how traffic flows from Google search results to your practice or
Which is really
to
what
your
matters.
website. Yeah, analytics is, it has that data as well, but in my experience, it's not as easy to navigate. It's a very complicated tool. It's not in its default configuration. It's not set up well for novice users. And
Got
it's
it.
really like the value, in my opinion, is seeing like, okay, somebody shows up on our EMDR page. Where do they go after that? There's like these little flow charts where you
Yep.
can see like they go from the EMDR page to the pricing page, which is almost always what happens. And then they go to the about page because nobody cares about who we are until they think that we can help them and they can afford it. And then they might get on the consultation page or some variation of that. And so that's a really useful tool as well. But for the
Especially if you're
purposes of
experiencing a lot of
SEO,
like drop-offs or somewhere and you can find where the drop-offs happen in the system. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. If you're getting a lot of traffic, but people are bouncing from the first page they land and they never see anything else, then it's going to show that. You just got 1,000 people to the homepage and there's 12 people on the consultation page. Well, there's an issue here. Maybe you're not really connecting well. That was an issue that we had with a client in Manhattan. She was getting really good SEO traffic. Like her rankings were improving. She was doing an EMDR intensives as well. And the problem was that her website sucked.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, it looked like it was from 1993. It kind of
that,
made me feel nostalgic because it was
right.
just so old school. But I feel like a lot of people would go there and be like, is she still in practice? Like, this
Yeah.
is so old. So we
Well,
redid it on Squarespace and it's beautiful. And now she's getting consultations.
yeah, and I'm going to echo that because I think that's one of the biggest problems that I do see is people will be doing all this work to market their practice and push people to their website, and then I get on their website and I'm like, this is not going to convert somebody into a client. It's just not going to do. You're putting a lot of work into sending people to a dead end. And
Yes.
so the website itself has to be excellent
Yes.
enough.
So let me just, while I'm waiting, I'm just gonna throw this page back in there just so I can get an actual good,
Yeah,
some good replacement content for them. So let's let that do its thing here.
awesome.
Page insights, you can see top performing pages, you can see page specific queries. Another important thing, so this is all this sidebar here. Another important thing about Search Console is that we have this URL inspection tool. So let's
Mhm.
say for this client, I wanted to make sure, and this is something we do in the very beginning, because I've been burned in the past years, like, why is, they're called the Neurofeedback Center. We're writing about neurofeedback. Why aren't they ranked for neurofeedback? Oh, because Google didn't index the neurofeedback service page. Womp womp. Like, I will never make that mistake again. So maybe this client wants to offer EMDR intensives. Let's make sure that Google even knows that the page exists. Check. We're good. If it wasn't there, like let's say, for example, we had just started a new page, it will show up like this. It's not on Google. You could tap request indexing and then start the process, and then we'll kind of poke Google's crawler to come back and look at that specific URL. This is definitely something you want to do if you're going to build a new page as soon as it's done. Don't rely on WordPress or Squarespace to alert Google, because I know there's a lot of SEO plugins that say that they like prompt the indexing tool. Just come into Search Console and do it manually, just to make sure that Google is aware that the page needs to be crawled. So that's another really important reason to use Search Console, just to make sure that all the pages are really showing up. And again, this is the kind of thing we want to see from SEO. If we're doing things properly, then we should see things going up to the right. This is like a real ideal scenario. And I'm like, I love this campaign for that reason. So of course I'm going to show it, but we can see like, the spikes are getting taller, the space on the bottom is getting larger. So even the slow days are getting more traffic than before. The impressions are really on a monumental upswing. And we can also see, like, even without a huge increase in average position, that it's probably because a couple of the pages, which are the really important pages, are ranking really well and getting a ton of impressions. And so that's exactly what we want to see. Integrative therapy, EMDR therapy, Pittsburgh. Another interesting thing to note, and this ties in what I said before about having unique pages for every single one of your specialties. So this client wanted to do EMDR intensives. They didn't have a page for it. We started this campaign in the middle of July, built their new intensives page like the middle of August. It didn't get indexed by Google until the very beginning of September last year. And we can see that since that time, it has consistently been featured in more and more search results, and it has generated a lot of clicks over that time. And we can see that the clicks are from very, very well aligned search terms: EMDR retreat, intensive EMDR retreat, EMDR intensives near me. This is all bottom of funnel traffic. What I mean by that is these are people that are looking for this specific service right now. EMDR therapy Pittsburgh. This is the people that are ready to sign up for services. Middle of funnel is like, which modality is better at trauma, CBT or EMDR? Top of funnel, although important, these are people that are still trying to gain information and understand like the language behind their issues. Like, how do I know if I have trauma? What is anxiety? What does it feel like? It takes a lot to nurture those people so that they continue to be aware of you until they're ready to actually sign up. So this is really the first priority. I would encourage you, if you're going to use this type of practice to create content, focus on the bottom of funnel terms, the ones that are like modality in town name or something like that, or anxiety therapist near me. These are people that are looking for somebody like you immediately. So that's going to yield you the quickest path to success. So let's hop over real quick to the Google listing. It's essentially a watered down version of Search Console. We have this little performance button. This is what you'll see if you're an admin of your Google listing. So you'll tap performance, and we can see the overall metrics. We can also get specific about calls. Bookings will be 0 because it's more of a restaurant feature. Directions will be the amount of times people mapped out the navigation to your location. Website clicks is people going from the listing to your website. As a note, this is not factored into Google Search Console. So you can add these two up. So that's a lot of additional traffic. And calls, I think, is one of the most important ones. But if we look at the overview, and we scroll down, we can see a breakdown of where people are finding you. Is the map result coming up in regular Google search? It's usually going to be the most people are finding you on just a regular Google search on mobile, because Google knows when you're on a phone and they're going to show you the map results as at the very top. That's why the listing is so important, because it's position 0. It's like right there. But this part right over here is kind of like a watered down search console where it will show you, here's the things that people are using to find it. Mental health retreat, EMDR therapy, intensive therapy retreat. So you'll probably see more of these location qualified terms. And that makes perfect sense, because Google is usually going to show the local listings if somebody says that they're looking for services in a particular place. And so this is again a verification process. Are we actually getting found for the things that we should be found for the services that we offer, for the things people are looking for? Very similar thing here, date range functionality, but it only goes up to 6 months. We can visualize the data in that simplified graph, and it just views the different search queries and also the actions that people are taking. So there's not a ton to it. So I wanted to touch very briefly on site speed, because when Google makes a decision about which sites to send people to, it needs to be an exact match page, needs to be a comprehensive and unique and valuable page. And the site also can't be trashed. It has to be fast, especially on mobile. It should be secure, which is not as much of a priority for WordPress, but for Squarespace, but WordPress sites will definitely need some work to ensure that security is dialed in. And there's some free plugins that you can use to make sure that security is dialed in on WordPress. Like WordFence is the most common one, and you can use it for free. And it also wants to make sure that like technical details are taken care of. But in this regard, when it comes to site speed, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the first step is to run an audit. And Google offers a free tool. It's called PageSpeed. You could drop in your URL right here. Audrey Shea. No, it's Audrey LLC. And you can do an analysis. And this is how Google evaluates the speed of your site. So anytime we have an opportunity to get information directly from Google, the better, because this is the information they are using to make a determination about the quality of this particular metric of your site. And so that's page speed. There's another one called GT metrics. This is also free. You don't get to do unlimited tests, but you can. And it gives you similar results, but it's nice to test in both systems. And then when it comes to WordPress, I'm not going to go into this, but there's a great plugin that we use called WP Rocket that will optimize the page loading speed. This shows how to use it on a WordPress site. And there's another really awesome plugin that we use that will help optimize any site. It's called Navigation.AI. And basically what this does, it's analyzing visitor behavior on your site, predicting the next link that they're going to click on. And if they do click that link, it's preloaded the next page in the browser. So it will instantly load that page. So it's the greatest user experience you can ask for. It works on any device, on any website platform, and it gives Google all those really warm and fuzzy metrics, the core web vitals that it wants so badly about, oh my God, this page loaded so fast. This is such an amazing user experience. And actually people will be more engaged in the next page when it jumps up faster than they can even process. They're like, wow, this is amazing. And it might be unfair, but we've all done it. If you have a slow site, and especially if it's kind of clunky and doesn't look good on mobile, they will judge the quality of your services because of it. But if you have an amazing site with a super polished web like user experience, and the site looks amazing and it's fast, then they will think that you're amazing at what you do. And that's just the power of good web design and, fast loading, easy to navigate websites. People think, oh, they must be an expert. Look at how great this site is. They probably spent $50,000 for this site. Oh my God. So let's see what we have here. So not too bad. There's some improvements. Let's see what Google says. Oh no, we should look at that again. Usually Squarespace is quite good. And it's hard to
Well,
say exactly why this is.
yeah, I just added some new pages, so I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
we just did some updates, so maybe there's some things to work out.
And if you see a bad score, you can always analyze it again. And sometimes it will completely change. That's just, and it's like, again, like when you think about the way people search, like you're getting dozens or hundreds of people coming over the course of a month, like it's not like Google's going to see that one page load on a test was bad and they're going to tank your rankings or anything. This is not going to affect your rankings, but it gives you an indication. If we continue to do this every time and it was always bad, then
Mm.
it's probably something we want to look at.
Yep.
And it could be exactly what you said, or maybe there's like a script running in the code or something, a little bit better.
Yeah. A little bit.
So yeah, it's something that we should probably look at
Okay.
and figure out. Maybe there's a video on the homepage or something. I think there is.
There
It
is a
could,
video, but shouldn't be.
yeah, it's hard to say. But this is again, it's an indication. If
Huh.
it's a slow loading page, it's not going to ruin everything, but it's another piece that you want to consider because we want to make all those things as good as possible so that when you create content to add to your blog, it gets the most impactful results for you.
Hmm.
And these are all the different things that Google is going to consider. How fast is your site loading? Things like that.
Yeah.
So I know we've been cruising for an hour and 15 minutes. Do we have a
Hmm.
hard stop, Audrey? Just wanted to ask.
I would like to be done in about 15, 20 minutes.
Sure,
It's not
no
a
problem.
hard stop, but I'd like a lunch break.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to touch on, just wanted to make sure that
Oh.
was a typo there. So let's talk about authority. To be honest, I forgot that I even had this part here. So we're going to cover all of the different signals today. This is great. Um, Authority, as I mentioned, this is really about how well connected is your site within this space. And when I say space, I mean the personal wellness, and mental health space. It's not super strict, but also it wouldn't make much sense if you had a bunch of websites that were like automotive directories connecting to your therapy site. It has no context for what you do. So the purpose of backlinks, which is a link from another website pointing to your site, it's basically a vote of confidence on the internet, where if another site that has high authority and high traffic points to you, then Google sees all these connections and might think, oh, well, Yahoo Health and Wellness is connected to Audrey's site. Well, maybe we should consider giving her better rankings so she can get more traffic as well. And again, it's not about the sheer number. I would never encourage you to respond to one of those cold emails that you get that says, hey, buy 150 links for $12. It's not going to do anything. And so what we're trying to do is earn these links that are more like expert guest posts than anything. It's not just like a link in the directory. It's like if you're on featured, for example, these are usually summary posts, which is like 10 experts share their thoughts on topic. And you can get featured in there. And these posts are great because they get a lot of traffic from real people. And it's a link that goes directly to your homepage, and it's from a site that has really good authority. So this is a few examples of the different types of platforms that you can use to find and secure backlinks, featured, quoted, help a reporter out. This was dead for a while. It was back,
Just back.
source of sources. And so the idea of these are all pretty much the same. You say, hey, go
I've
ahead.
been doing this for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And, there's a learning curve to it, but it's really fun to put this content out there. The other thing that I've noticed is that it also helps me understand what is trending in content, because the reporters are going to be doing stuff that's trending. And so one of the things that I've thought about and I've suggested to some of my coaching clients is if you send a pitch and only a certain percentage of them are going to get picked up by the writers, and it doesn't get picked up, go turn that into a blog post. Use this process to go turn what you're don't waste the effort that you made pitching, because that's your content. So go repurpose that somewhere else and turn it into a blog post for yourself. So that's been a
an
way
awesome
that
idea.
you can repurpose content and effort and not feel like it's wasted. Because at best, about 25% of your pitches are going to get picked up if you get good at it.
That's a really, really great point. And it's funny because most people that have been trying this process on their own, this is the thing that we do for them that they are
Mhm.
most happy to give up. They're like, I hate this. I'm constantly monitoring my inbox, waiting for this to come in. Then I scramble to get like an article together, and most of the time it's not actually approved. So I just feel
Yeah.
like it's a waste of time. But I
Yeah.
love that idea of, well, yeah, if this big brand wants an article about like men's health and EMDR, then that's definitely something you should probably write about too if you provide that service. So it's
Exactly.
a great like a cheat code to figure out like what is trending right now. I love that.
Hmm.
So cool. I was gonna say, well, There's nothing you can do if it doesn't get featured, but you just got to keep trying. But that's the thing, like when we do this for clients, like 1%, 2% of the time, it's not easy to get these placements when we look at all the different
Yep.
platforms we're using. But it's just about, we're managing this process at scale. So we're
Yeah.
usually doing like 50 to 60 pitches per month to secure one guest post or a
Right.
feature in a guest post. And again, it's not a lot. Like we want to get one or more backlinks per month. That's
Yeah.
it for a solo practitioner. That's enough that it will move the needle, because these signals I was talking about, experience, expertise, authority, trust, we don't need to get like 1,000 articles 1 month or 1,000 backlinks 1 month. We want to demonstrate a trend over time that things are improving. They continue to write about this modality and provide a lot of value. They continue to get high authority backlinks. They continue to get good reviews. I feel like they are establishing this reputation that makes me feel good sending more traffic to their site. This is Google's algorithm thinking like, okay, all of this stuff checks out. This looks really good. I'm going to rank them higher because they're doing
Yep.
a really good job.
I'll
So
add
any of these sites work.
yeah, I'll add one last one. There's a new one that's actually AI assisted called Press Pulse that I've been toying with a bit. And I included a in the Facebook chat, and there's an affiliate link if you choose. They have a free version, they have a paid version, but they also pull from LinkedIn, Twitter, community sources. So they also sweep the internet in other sources that are not included in these larger platforms. And I've been successful at securing quotes from like LinkedIn callouts and Twitter callouts that I wouldn't be able to access otherwise. So that's been helpful.
And another
And
really great thing you can do once you get those placements is you can take the logos of those
yep,
publications and add them to your website. If someone sees women's health and they're like, oh my God, Audrey's a celebrity.
I know I've got
And
like
it's
four more I
probably a
need to
guest
add.
post. It's simply a guest post. It's not untrue. Audrey's words are on that publication online,
Every
and
single
that's
one of them.
awesome because it's just the same as having an NPR logo. Like a
Yep,
therapist spoke on NPR, so hell yeah, we're going to put that there because
that's right.
we're dealing with seconds here. And again, our goal, like the point of the website, I want to stress this: it's a glorified interactive business card. You might have 20 pages, but most likely each person that comes through, they're going to connect very deeply with one page. And that's the page that resonates with them because that's the service they want, or that's the issue that they struggle with. They don't go to the other pages. It's a very one-directional process. They come into the site, they see a bunch of these trust and legitimacy building signals. They connect with this emotionally compelling content and they smash that button. And then that's when the real value is shared, when you're on that call with them. So everything that we do is in the service of bringing people in, connecting with them emotionally, helping them feel secure enough to actually spend some of their real time on a conversation with you. So yeah, anytime you get a backlink, if it's from a worthy brand name, then put that on your website. You don't necessarily have to have a link back to it. Like none of these are clickable, but they're impactful anyway. Vogue, like come on, of course I want to work with this person. So awesome. So let's talk a little bit about trust and wrap this up. So this is the most challenging thing about being a therapist. This is the signal that eludes most people. How do you ethically generate reviews? You can do a lot to set up circumstances whereby your clients might notice it and then take it upon themselves. Like set up a QR code, like on your Google listing, ask for reviews. You got this button right here. There's this link and a QR code. You could stick that on like a cool little glass plaque on your front desk and just leave it there, and then have your intake coordinator like conspicuously glance at it every 5 seconds when someone's about to leave. Like there's ways that you can make it easier for people to leave a review, but you never need to ask them explicitly, because that is I get the point. Like you're threatening the integrity of the therapeutic container that you've created. You don't want to leverage that power dynamic and make someone uncomfortable. Worst case scenario, you could get reported. Bad case scenarios, you lose a client because they feel icky about it. And best case scenario, they leave one for you because they love what you're doing in their life. And in lieu of that, because we can't really force that process, you can ask folks in your professional network that is within Google's terms of service, based on the latest research that I've done, as long as it's transparent. Don't encourage your friend who's a therapist to lie about it and pretend they're a client, but they can speak to your character. Maybe they were in like a supervisory group with you or like a training with you. oh my gosh, I've just never met someone as compassionate and thoughtful as Audrey. And if you're looking for brain spotting in Auburn, California, like highly recommended that you reach out. You got a modality, you got a specialty, you got a location, 5 stars. Oh my God, Google is loving this. And so I would highly recommend that you connect with some other folks in your professional network. And if it makes sense, like leave them one too, because they probably need one just as bad as you. The good news is that most therapists are at a disadvantage because it's not easy for anybody to get them. So even a few can make a big difference. And Google is crazy about the recency of reviews. A review from last week is much more impactful than last year because again, Google wants to see that there's a pattern of you providing good services. And reviews are also based on the latest understanding that I've developed, one of the biggest reasons why you'll show up on AI. So they love reviews, they crave reviews, they crave quotable reviews. So more than just like 5 stars, highly recommend, like having a little bit more information about that is a really, really great snippet that a platform like ChatGPT or Claude could include in search results. If you don't have anybody in your network or you feel weird about that, ask your friends and family. I'm sharing all these options. I don't have a license to lose. And so I'm a bit pushier about this process. And I think it's up to everybody to interpret this using their own ethical lens on what's appropriate for them. But we're up against like massive forces from like huge hedge fund tech corporations that are trying to gobble up therapy just like DoorDash and Uber Eats did to local restaurants like 5 or 10 years ago. So luckily they're not gobbling up local listings because Google really does secure that for just real practices because no online only, that's their terms of service, but they're doing everything they can to take up all the web results because it's mostly Site Today, Alma, Talkspace, BetterHelp. If you're on those platforms and you're getting referrals, there's nothing against that, but it makes it especially important that you claim as much of the online territory as you can. And if it means you got to get your mom to leave you a review, then I feel like that's just what you got to do sometimes. So,
Question, a couple questions
sure.
actually. First question is, even if you do have a physical location, like in my case, the vast majority of my clients are online. Where would I could I put it in my, like if I had a QR code in my, or a link in my email signature, maybe my,
Yeah,
um,
you could put it there.
somewhere on the website, like what would be the best placement or the best way to do it without actually asking?
It's a really good question.
Because the majority
Email
of my
footer.
interaction is through the automated email reminders and my website, but they don't usually visit my website after they've worked with me.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
makes
something
sense.
I'm thinking about.
Yeah, email footer.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the
Maybe
email
like
footer.
yeah, and if you were doing like a newsletter periodically, then I suppose it makes sense you could add it in there because it's
Put it in the
almost like
footer. Yep.
it seems a bit more ethically appropriate. Like, hey, I just shared some value for you just in your therapeutic journey, and like, hey, if you want to leave a review for me, then here it is. Again,
Stick it
I
somewhere
think it's
in the
up to everybody
bottom.
to
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like blah, please do this, and then I'll continue to share emails with you.
Right.
Um, But even if you're online only, even if your Google listing is only for the purpose of you just having a repository of reviews, I wanted to show you, like, I work with people all around the world, but I have the Google reviews because I want to have them somewhere.
Yeah.
And so this this just is a repository that is trustworthy. And Google likes it, people like it. And so I put it on my website anyway, even though I'm not just working with people throughout like New England and the Northeast US.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, even if you are online only, I still think it's a good idea. Even if you, and again, if you're struggling to get a Google listing, I think somebody had just asked a question about this. Do
This
you
is
have any
something else, but
recommendations? Okay.
yeah,
Do you have any
negative reviews.
recommendations for therapists and how to address fake negative reviews? Oof. Um,
Yeah.
Report it, get all of your clinicians to report it. If you have a team, get everybody that you possibly know to report it all at the same time. This is one situation where we don't want a trend. We want a spike of activity. Like we got a 1 star review for a client of mine that brought up a lawsuit from like over 10 years ago. It was ugly
Wow.
and it was spiteful. And we just hit it hard and we said it's abusive, it's discriminatory, it's hateful, it's spam, it's this, it's that. You can go in there and you can say that reviews are are bad for a lot of different reasons. You can report it and then say any of these different topics. So just hit it in as many ways as you can and go in there personally and do it every single day. I
Got
wish I
it.
had better guidance than that. I'm really trying to find somebody that knows a person that works for Google's local system because I'm just gonna like buy them steak dinners all the time. So I just
Right.
have that connection with them.
So
They're out
have
there.
everyone you know report it. Maybe even post, I don't know,
Yeah,
rally or network, have them report it. You report it daily. Just
yeah,
like hit it real hard. Even and
yeah,
because they said
yep,
even if they refuse to do it, just keep hitting it.
yeah.
Okay.
Keep on going.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I wish I had a better answer. It's really hard to get rid of negative reviews, but
Hmm.
sometimes the good news is that if it's really negative and it's like very, very specific, you can say that it's bullying or harassment because it calls out one particular person, and then it's like, okay, that's legitimate. Like
Oh,
you don't want to
apparently
say
there's a
someone's
limit.
name.
You can only report twice.
Really? Okay.
That's what it's, yeah.
Hmm. Maybe you can report it for other reasons, other justifications. Yeah, I the best answer, and again, this is a tough one in this space, but getting enough negative positive reviews that it dilutes the negative ones. And there's always going to be one or two negatives. It could actually be a positive because if you answer it responsibly and compassionately, despite the vitriol being spewed your way, then other people, of course, they're going to go right to it and look at it and see what happened. But if they see that you dealt with that conflict professionally, they might actually feel more comfortable working with you. So again, people are looking for a trend. Is the food always cold?
Mm.
Is everything always bad in a certain way? Are they always irresponsible in this particular regard, how they treat clients? Well, I don't want to deal with that. But if it's a one-off thing, it's not usually the worst. And in terms of the overall rating, as long as you're in the high fours, you're good. It's when you get to the low fours or the high threes, like if you go below 4.0, that's when Google will start actively demoting you in exchange for other listings in the area. So the more 5 stars you can get, the better, because that will not only increase your the area that you're visible throughout, but it will also preserve against those negative reviews too.
And let me add to, like, if you're concerned about the legal ethical piece of responding to a non-client review, call your liability insurance and get their take on it. If you're a member of like Camped or something, call their lawyers and get their take on responding to someone who's not a client and left a fake review and see what they say.
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. So if you do feel compelled to reach out to your professional network or friends and family, here's a little review template that you can take and get the most value from that. So names an incredible and compassionate therapist and an expert in modality. If you're in the location area and need support for issue, I highly recommend you reach out. Obviously, replace those words, or else it would be a very strange review. But yeah, have them fill it in with exactly what you do and where it happens, and that will give Google all the information that you need. Because I'm sure you've seen that before, where if you're searching for like best burgers town name, you might actually see a snippet of a review in the listings that show up on top, which gives it a good reason to be there. It's like, oh, Joe said it's the best burgers in Memphis. And so that's like really good, obvious feedback to Google's algorithm that they should be showing up that particular place for that particular reason. So the information in a review will definitely help you to rank for those things. And just one final piece about trust. Trust is more than just reviews. It's basically sending the signals to Google that you're a legitimate practice and a legitimate online entity. Because there's literally millions and millions of fake listings, fake websites, fake everything generated every year. Last year, Google users posted 1 billion reviews on local listings, and Google's algorithm removed 224 million of them. Probably most of them were trash, but a lot of them were legitimate as well. It's not a perfect system, but legitimacy is extremely important because there are so many malicious actors that are trying to game the system and get traffic for all sorts of fake reasons. And so ways that you can be legitimate, be very, very clear about your contact info, make it accessible, have a contact page, have multiple options for contact, give people response time expectations. If you have a live chat, consider adding that. We're actually in the process of developing a HIPAA compliant AI chatbot. So that's going to be coming out in a couple months. And that'll be an awesome option to have on your website. Gives people the information they need, helps you book consultations, but it also helps Google understand like you're a real company. You're providing really great feedback for everybody that's on your website. It's not just kind of a mysterious landing page for no reason. Site security, A lot of this stuff is already taken care of, like Squarespace, Wix, etc. It's fine. If you're on WordPress, make sure that your plugins are updated regularly. Make sure you have a security plugin like WordFence or others. Make sure that you do some basic stuff to block potential attacks from hackers and things like that. These are all things that Google is going to analyze as well, and they want to make sure that your site is secure and follows best practices in terms of how to make sure it stays secure. And other things, and this is a combination of trust, but also conversions as well, like privacy policies, terms of service, but the industry certifications and badges. This is going to help people believe that you are legitimate as well. So Google likes it, people like it. Include information about your credentials on your about page. Again, no one really cares about this stuff at first. They want to see that you are giving them what they need or they believe they need, and they want to believe that they can afford it. Once they go through that process, they're going to want to learn about you. And so sharing your credentials in the appropriate place is important. And have a detailed about us page. Go into detail about yourself somewhere, just maybe not at the very, very top of the homepage, because there's other content that would be more impactful in that area. And if you have a team, make sure that you have a separate team page or separate page for each of the members of your team as well. And if they have Psych Today profiles or LinkedIn profiles, you can consider linking to those pages from those bio pages. And that's just another way that Google understands, all right, this is a real person. They exist on these other platforms as well. And so it helps to send more of those signals of trust and legitimacy. So let's wrap this all up. This was a lot. So you're going to get these slide decks. If you choose to use them, try out the prompts and see how they work for you. And feel free to adjust all the details. And I'd love to hear from you in the Facebook group or anywhere. Like, see if you can make it even better, because it's constantly evolving. These systems are getting smarter and more interesting. So tweak out little things and see how it works for you. And once you land on something that works, then just continue using it. And when it comes to analyzing the results, Google Search Console is going to be the most important tool that you use for your blog content and website rankings. The Google Business Profile, the built-in analytics are going to be important for that. Analyze it on at least a monthly basis. This is a trend. You're probably not going to post a blog and see a huge spike in activity that week. It's probably going to happen a month later or maybe 2 months later. So consider at least 3 months to get started, and you should by then see like a good increase in impressions at the very least. 6 months, you probably start to see traffic. If you do this for a year and post every week, then you're probably going to have other problems. Like, what the heck am I going to do with all these people? So that's the goal. And if you don't know what to do, or this has been crazy and exciting or overwhelming, then hire a professional like us to help you to implement a successful content creation strategy, because we're doing everything that you just learned today, plus a ton of other stuff as well to make sure that it works. So if you have any questions, let me know, or scan that code and let's hop on a call.
Awesome. Awesome, Chris. Man, this was packed. I'm excited to hear what people think, to get the feedback. Chris will be in the Facebook group once he's had a sleep, and he'll be available to answer questions. And so post questions if you're watching the replay. Post your questions in the chat. Now, Facebook does remove live streamed videos after 30 days. So we will have this. We will also be taking this down at some point and reposting it as a YouTube link so that it will be there for good. I'll also post it to my blog, so you guys will have the content in a blog post along with the link to the video, and we'll have links to all the things, the slide deck, and Chris's website, and anything else that you need. So we will make sure the content gets posted and out there. It won't go away. But it's been awesome. Thank you, Chris, again for this great one. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Awesome.
You can learn more
Thank
things.
you.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you later.